right, so welcome back to day two. Welcome to day two of the Education Collaborative feature on entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurship track. The entrepreneurship track is to explore the work that universities on the continent are doing in entrepreneurship, learn from them, identify opportunities for innovation, ideas that we can build into our own programs in our various institutions. And so at that point, it could be that you are a program manager or you are an enabler of sorts in your organization, and you can pick up a few ideas to implement. And so we're talking about programs that are done on campus in curricula, and then we're talking about programs that are extracurricular, and then looking at dependencies or interdependencies in the ecosystems that these universities work in. So in that sense, we're exploring everything that the universities do in entrepreneurship so that we can learn. We look at best practices, look at challenges, and identify the appropriate path to take based on these experiences. So this session is in partnership with Ashesi University, in partnership with Center for Social Innovations, and the facilitators for today is my honorable self on the left, Gordon Adomja, an associate professor at Ashesi University. I teach courses in entrepreneurship and innovation. And then we're going to have Miss Eda Muni, who's a director, executive education at Strathmore University Business School. And then I'm going to have Yao introduce himself. I didn't see Eda, but maybe she's here already. If she is up. She's not here yet. So I'll have Yao introduce himself briefly.
Good to meet everybody. Good morning and good afternoon, everywhere you may be. My name is Yao Edujemfi. I'm the CEO and co-founder for Center for Social Innovations. We are based in Kumasi. We have a resilient community innovation model that we partner higher educational institutions and non-higher educational institutions, including corporates and also young entrepreneurs, to be able to immerse themselves in communities and then co-create entrepreneurial and innovative solutions. We're looking at building partnerships whilst we are here, and some of you might have reached out. We will be engaging, but more or less we want to be able to use the Educational Collaborative platform to push the idea of immersion and co-creation of solutions for sustainable development. And I think that this is just such a great platform for us and for everybody to be able to engage. Thank you.
And also very quickly, want to acknowledge Priscilla. Priscilla, if you can introduce yourself very quickly, because we have some activities that Priscilla, who is our team member, is going to be helping us with.
Hi, team. Good morning, good afternoon. So I'm Priscilla Ajimanamo. I'm the Entrepreneurship Track Assistant. I work with a non-governmental organization called Global Gates that works in rural communities in Ghana, in the central part of Ghana, trying to solve issues around healthcare, public health, and also economic development.
Right, thank you, Priscilla. And of course, we can't forget our hosts, the Education Collaborative team. And Rose, you were on earlier. I don't know if you can just unmute and say hello. Yesterday, we looked at 3 of 4 exemplar entrepreneurship programs that we had put forth through our research. And as you can see, It cuts across east, west, and north of Africa. So Ashesi University in the west, Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos, Strathmore to the east, and American University in Cairo to the north. And we were not able to speak with Dr. Hala Barakat yesterday from American University Cairo, but she's going to join us today to share with us what they do in entrepreneurship. And what we thought to do was to do quick recaps this morning of the different models that were presented. And then we're going to co-create the concept of the super exemplar. What do we want to see in a super exemplar that we that will be the best kind of institution for entrepreneurship, or that pushes entrepreneurship on the continent? Collaboratively, what are some of the elements, or some of the functions, or some of the features, or some of the activities and programs of such a super exemplar? And then we are going to get a sheet it's called the idea napkin, where you will map out some things you would want to do, programs you would want to implement, or programs that you think should be implemented in your university if you're not a decision maker. And we'll get into breakouts for you to discuss these programs with your breakout room team members. The goal here, and then we'll come back and we will hear from the different teams. And that's the structure of today. The goal is to see if we can help participants identify specific programs that they might want to implement. And this is because the Education Collaborative Ashesi University has these small grants that they're going to provide for universities to implement to run activities or do research into new program areas that they picked up from the collaborative. So in many ways, the collaborative is not a come, talk, listen, talk, and go, but come, listen, talk, and also take home a plan to do with some resources. Yao, I don't know if you want to add to that. Any questions at all? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, David.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's really a good thing, because even when you look at the fourth industrial revolution, and according to research, it's really proving that the time is coming that even most of our youth who are currently in school would not be able to be employed, especially since technology is going to take the place of human effort in work. So in fact, we foresee that we have to really do this ecosystem and then be collaborative in how to put the systems in place to help streamline the process when it gets to that time. Aside that, even we can see that there are challenges. There are a lot of challenges with our kind of the models that we are training our students, because we are training our students just to write examination and to pass the exams. But at the end of the day, when you ask that same graduates to be able to come out with an idea or an initiative to implement something, it's a challenge. In fact, the practical base has not been there. So I think this consortium is really going to help, so that we can also derive some kind of idea in order to also go back to the drawing board and also to implement and to derive our curriculum in our schools, to also implement enough and good strategies to equip our students to become entrepreneurs. I have always looked at it from a point of view that we should start training our students to be more of apprentices, and then they will graduate to become that of entrepreneurs. So I think it's for a good cause. So we are ready to learn this. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, David, you need to tell us a little bit about which university you're from, and maybe a little bit about your program. Just a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is David Sechi Irinchi. I am an assistant registrar at the University of Energy and Natural Resource in Ghana here at Sunyani, precisely Sunyani. I also happens to be the unit head for, that is the Center for Student Skills Enhancement. So in fact, the rationale for our Center for Student Skills Enhancement is one, to be able to help students to be equipped with employable skills so that after school they can employ themselves to be entrepreneurs, or we can be able to equip them with the necessary soft skills so that they will be able to fit to the job market. Since there are a lot of gaps that the industry and employers are expecting, that we should, put these graduates into that state, that which they can be relevant in their job placement. So in fact, that is the main rationale for we establishing such a center, to give our students that kind of education. So I think this is a little of what I can say for now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I was saying that yesterday was quite insightful in terms of the discussions that went around from the word, from the plenary sessions, and probably a bit of a summary from what happened yesterday is just to share about the discussions on embedding entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial mindset into the courses that we do, and how we should change our perspectives in the higher education, especially in the African context, in terms of enabling, universities being enablers to enterprise development and entrepreneurship among our graduates, no matter what courses they are doing, be it engineering, be it agriculture, that they're able to get skills and be helped to create opportunities in terms of business, as opposed to them becoming employees. I have this interesting concept that I say in today's society, we don't talk about employability anymore. We talk about employer agility. Are you able to be agile as a graduate, to transform your mindset, to adapt to the circumstances? Because as it is today, there is a lot of unemployment in the market. So are you able to identify opportunities, and can universities be centers of excellence in terms of helping graduates to become entrepreneurs in such? And I also talk about entrepreneurs, of course. Today, organizations are not looking for employees. That's where we have the university industry mismatch in terms of skills. They want people can think, people can innovate, people can work independently and come up with ideas and contribute to the organization's value creation in that sense. So yesterday really built up and showed exemplars, and I'm quite happy. And this is what I was saying, we need to be owning this conversation, because if we let someone else tell our conversation, tell our story, as I believe, they'll talk from a perspective of their own understanding of what enterprise in formal institutions that really work laws and business policies that really are integrated and work for the society, as opposed to where the context is a bit informal and there's a coexistence of institutions, if I may say, from our colonial powers, which has to, we are not in a bad place. Actually, we have more opportunities in terms of exploring, and that's why everyone has this gold rush for Africa and wanting to come to Africa. We need to be prepared in the sense of where we have a lot of people coming to understand the context that we are in, so that they can be able to learn from us. That's why we bring our indigenous knowledge into their education, and why are we struggling to create COVID-19 vaccine, while we know there's traditional medicine, traditional herbs that probably can be, why are we not creating value-added products in Africa? So in terms of ecosystem and interdependencies, so the conversations around the university become an ecosystem, and this is, proven by research and also by practice as well, in terms of universities now becoming the hubs in terms of knowledge creation and also knowledge value addition, all right? So we are adding value in terms of creating, be it new patents, intellectual properties, new innovations. COVID-19 was created in our university, right? We have a lot of those exemplars, and we sort of like should become the center of innovation. The other thing that came out was the issue about resources, and I think this is one interesting concept where people are saying there's no resources for us to implement these programs, this entrepreneurial ideas, but we come from a notion of entrepreneurship is actually the scarcity of resources, and having those resources, finding value. Actually, Dr. Narrator talked about how they're able to give less than $30 really for people to create businesses. And it's not just about the resources themselves or the money. I say money follows ideas. So do we in the first place have ideas that can be value addition in the society in terms of creation? So I think in a nutshell, probably say that these discussions are within the center is actually driving this, and participation is of course encouraged, and for us to take advantage of the situation and the networks that we have to build and to improve our own.
All right, thank you, Patrick. I think your line was breaking up at the end there, but we did get most of what you were saying. The mindset, resources not being an excuse, really sort of rethinking our place in the world, if you will. And maybe at the tail end, we had this conversation about should we be super Afrocentric, or should we be sort of Afro-global in our perspective? Because yes, that we have resources, but can we do it all? Or do we need to be mindful of our resources, but also of the potential collaborations that we need to have globally in order to be efficient? So those are all very, very, very good conversations we had. And Patrick, it would be great to know what institution you're coming from, and maybe and what you do as well. So at Ashesi University, if our mission says that we're educating, or we want to educate the next generation of ethical entrepreneurial leaders. So the word entrepreneurial is in our mission. What that means is that everyday faculty, teaching assistants, the higher ups have to think about how we actually achieve our mission with that word entrepreneurial in it. So over time, after doing these strategic sort of planning sessions, it was agreed that we needed a 1-year entrepreneurship course, mandatory or compulsory for all our first years. And then we needed to build on that with curricular programming and extracurricular programming. So today we have a 1-year entrepreneurship course that every Ashesi student takes. Our semesters, our year is based on 2 semesters. So the first semester is mostly design thinking, mostly innovation sprints, helping students learn about how to think about problems. And then working through design sprints to then use the design thinking frame to research these problems, analyze the insights that are coming out, do ideation, prototyping. And then in the next semester, we go through a business, we call it a business simulation. So it's a lean startup model. We give them small amounts of money for each of the semesters. But in the second semester, we give them a small amount of money to actually run an operation on the business concept, project, program concept, service concept. Sometimes it's a campaign that they are running, and they have to run the operations on it. The idea here is that entrepreneurship, whichever way you cut it, takes a business operations perspective, right? Whether it's social, whether it's for profit, whatever it is, you still have marketing, and you have you have cost of goods or services, you have selling and general administration costs and so forth. And we've had students typically will do a campus business, whether bringing barbers on campus to give haircuts on the weekends and take money. So there has to be a transaction. Doing a bus service to the city for movie nights on Fridays. Sometimes bringing experts on campus to do health and wellness, running a campaign outside of campus on road safety, or registering kids, street kids on the national insurance scheme, doing something with a ministry, building an app for a hotel. We really get them into the practice of entrepreneurship. And this carries forth throughout. There are 4 years at the university as well. We have other courses, for instance, our in software development and other courses, engineering for innovation, where they sort of take the entrepreneurial approach. Our final year capstone entrepreneurship course, for instance, students are allowed to form teams outside of the class and bring the teams into the class. Oftentimes you form teams in the class, but here we allow them, we do a hackathon before the semester starts, and then the students can take these teams and bring them into the class and run their concepts through the class. And we also have extracurricular activities. We have a design lab that's focused on innovation, because we understand that teaching entrepreneurship is not enough. We need to empower young people to be creative, sometimes creative on ideas that are not necessarily viable, because when they learn to be creative on the third or fourth or fifth concept, they might find viability. So we have a design lab, and then we have a student-led startup launchpad, which basically helps its students helping other students as accountability partners to do a bit of market research on their ideas before we put them in front of mentors. What we've learned is that industry mentors often get impatient with ideas that are not well developed. So our program with the student-led startup launchpad is to help other students develop the ideas before we put them in front of mentors. Our recent installment is a 1-year incubation program for our enterprising graduates, which was funded by USAID, but it's ending, so we're going to be supported by MasterCard. Just wanted to get Helena's attention there. And this program, basically, what we do is we hire these students to work on their own businesses as part of their national service, because in Ghana you have to do national service after college. And it's a year of testing out your concepts to see whether you can build a business on them. And then, of course, if it doesn't work out, then they take that experience, because it's a very active lean startup process. They take that experience and maybe do something else with it, join a company and do intrapreneurship, which is one thing we heard yesterday a lot. So that's what we do at Ashesi. We have a 1-year entrepreneurship course for all freshmen, and then we have a 1-year post-graduation incubator for enterprising students. We're looking at grad level kind of programming, maybe venture builder kind of models, where we bring on board our alumni and others who have been in industry for 5-7 years to come and build businesses. Because as we know, that successful entrepreneurs are often those who have some industry experience, right? So even though We are equipping our students with deep domain expertise so that they can, together with their teams, build businesses. We're also mindful of the fact that industry experience may be very important. So we're looking at building models that embrace that. So that's what we have at Ashesi University. And of course, we are fortunate to have the likes of MasterCard Foundation and the Ford Foundation, who provide prototype funding for our student teams to continue to develop their ideas. Okay. So I'll have Yao talk about Pan-Atlantic University. And the connection I want to make there is that the focus on value-driven businesses is something that we also focus on in our venture incubator. In fact, we think that we are onto something here where we help the businesses build hybrid business models. So if you're for-profit, we help you build social impact value flows into your model. And if you're non-profit or social enterprise, we help you build commercial value impact flows into your model, so that you're not you're not necessarily social or necessarily for-profit, but you're hybrid. You build your model, delivers commercial value and some social impact in one unified business model. So we think it's something that we're piloting, and we think it has legs, especially going forward in the world that we find ourselves. So I'm going to have Yao talk about Pan-Atlantic, and then we'll do a quick recap on Strathmore, and then we'll come to you. Yao.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atomja. Yesterday we had Dr. Henrietta Onyebuozi engage us passionately on the Pan-Atlantic model, which is at the Lagos Business School. She highlighted solutions-driven social enterprise development, which is the core of the training that they give their students. It is value-driven and also has a key component of commercialization. These ideas and solutions that come out of the training or trainees also come up with should be value-driven and also has components of commercialization. They have full-time MBAs that are required to start their own businesses with a seed capital, and she gave examples of instances where even as low as $30 have been given to such businesses, and they've grown with it. She gave us examples of how students who have passed through the Lagos Business School, some of whom have set up the biggest online store in Nigeria, and through the same program. The model also stresses on academia-industry collaboration, which encourages experience sharing for students and faculty, business community at large. So you have a model that is tied towards values, training entrepreneurs who are values driven, but also an area of commercialization. So they are social entrepreneurs, but then also just like you were saying about earlier about some of those ideas that are being teased out. The Lagos Business School sort of positions itself within that value chain of value-driven social entrepreneurs. She also shared with us some ideas, and these ideas I think would also form part of the discussion going forward post this event. These discussions centered around university collaboration for students across the continent to enable students to be able to engage with their peers across the continent, to build partnerships, to build trust, and to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. The focus here is that sometimes building business the challenge we have as Africans has to do with trust. People don't know each other. So the collaborative could be an opportunity where students, even when they're in school, can be able to build joint ventures with their peers from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, or Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, other places across the continent. And I think this suggestion brings to the fore the issue of building trust in business, of forming partnerships, which are key to the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And more importantly, the idea hinges on facilitating student exchanges. And also, lastly, the key highlight of the model of the Lagos Business School is also the incorporation of the entrepreneurship model, which has been with Nigeria for long. Of course, across the continent, you have entrepreneurship, especially informal sector entrepreneurship, is something that is pronounced across the continent. But in Nigeria, it's taken to a different level, with which is Igbo-dominated, where you have entrepreneurs who in the informal sector go through apprenticeship for about 6 to 9 years and are set up by their masters. The idea is that how can you get the universities to be interested in such model, to be able to refine the model at the edges in terms of the challenges that you have with the model, in terms of formality about the business. And so building formality about the business, also incorporating issue of building trust, and also sustaining the model, which has indigenous knowledge as modeled around indigenous knowledge. So it will be interesting to explore how such indigenous knowledge is developed into a curriculum. Will make the entrepreneurship model more relevant in this 21st century. And that's about it for the Lagos Business School in terms of their model.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Edda, if you could give us a quick recap of the Strathmore model.
And good afternoon, good morning for those who are still in the morning. So just a recap, what Dr. Zenga had mentioned. So the model for Strathmore runs from the undergraduate program to the small to the medium enterprises. So it's not just on the undergraduate or the student side, as you may call it. And our mission is that we can bring the global standards, but at the local setting. So we are not trying to copy paste from these other countries or from these other business schools that we are learning from, but we are learning and bringing it home. Yeah. So what is this that we can be able to localize? What is the context? Our markets are very different from some of the international partners that we are working with. So once we get that best practice, so to speak, then we are able to localize it and bring it home. The other thing we have is that we have an incubator. We have actually 2 incubators within Strathmore. One of them is called IBIS Africa, and we have incubated a couple of businesses from the undergraduate students, and he was able to show those that are there. So we have the complete incubator, including the space for them to work as they grow, as they nurture the businesses, and then they can exit. So some of them have exited from the space, and we have new ones coming into the space. So we are very keen on innovation. We have the degree on Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, which is regulated by TVET for those that are in Kenya, also a diploma in business entrepreneurship and innovation. So the other thing that we are able to do at that level is that we have design thinking, just enabling them to look at the problem and have a human side. We have critical thinking in the programs that we are running, and we are partnering with the different industries for them to get the practical experience. The other very key thing that we include in all our programs, not just the entrepreneurship programs, is the issue of ethics and responsibility. So one of the things that we have mentioned in our mission is that we look at building virtuous leaders. And how do we build that virtuous leaders is incorporating that component of ethics in the programs that we are running. Because as you know, in Africa, a lot of corruption reigns. And we are saying, can we build a new crop of SMEs? Can we build a new crop of business leaders that are not corrupted with that? The other thing that we do is community work. And so the students are able to undertake community work in the schools that they are, in the various places that they can be. So we have community work in schools, we have community work in hospitals, we have community work in the slums. And so it builds that empathy with the students. So even when they come to look at design thinking, problem solving, they can look at with that lens. The other thing that I want to mention is our Strathmore Enterprise Development Center, which again, Dr. Jenga mentioned. And there we are working with the small as well as medium enterprises and family businesses. So in small, we have a program called Enterprise Development Program, which is a 16-week program looking at being able to go through all the needs of an SME at that level. From business plans, you realize that most of these entrepreneurs, so these are not the students, most of these entrepreneurs have not built a business plan that can enable them get money from a bank. So we help them to work with somebody to facilitate them coming up with a business plan. And we have also partnered with banks that have also been supporting them get the financials. So in the Enterprise Development Center, we have 4, I would say, key areas. We are talking about capacity building. We are talking about market linkages. We are talking about access to capital, and we are talking about adaptation to the local market. So in the area of market linkages, we have been doing international visits to China, to Berlin for our agripreneurs and various other places. This exposes them to the markets in which they're operating in, for those that are exporting and for those who are getting those things. So we have been able to do that for the small enterprises. For the medium enterprises, we have a program which is a 9-month program structured in 4 modules, and it's looking at growing an owner manager, this entrepreneur who is running the show, who is doing the day-to-day business, and transitioning them to building the systems, the structures that will enable them run a business as opposed to being the owner manager. So we are working on that. And the program has been running for quite some years now, very successfully. We are in partnership with Lagos Business School. I think Dr. Henrietta mentioned that when she was speaking. So we normally have the exchanges, the international module exchanges. We take our students there and they bring their students here. And that has created an environment of, should I say, trust, because there's always a lot of mistrust between the West and the East. But right now, when we have a lot of our entrepreneurs being able to travel to Nigeria, they can experience Nigeria, they can create networks, they can open businesses, then we're able to grow. And we have seen some of those classes coming together, forming partnerships, forming a group, an investment group where they're able to do business with Nigerians, or with the West African market. And then they're able to come here and we do the same, we do the training, and we're able to support them. The other thing we do, which is very key for us as Africans, of course, is the area of food. We all need food 3 times a day, if not more. And so we have agribusiness programs. And the first agribusiness program we have is the primary production. The small scale farmers who are looking at how can they be able to grow, How can they be able to grow their production of the various value chains that they're operating in. Then once we do the primary production, we do value addition. So for those farmers who are looking at can I be able to add value to the products that I'm producing? Then we have a program that focuses on them. What do they do? How do they look at the market first? What the market needs, even before they can start doing value addition, they're able to assess the market and know what is needed. And the last one is financing agribusiness value chain, which we deal with banks and financial institutions. So we are trying to help them and support them know and understand how do they appraise an agricultural value chain, so that they can be able to offer the correct loan products and investment products for these farmers. And in that particular program, we have actually been working with USAID through Kenya Crops and Dairy Market Systems to be able to train quite a number of financial institutions so that they can know what they need to do. The other thing that Dr. Jenga mentioned is the issue of a partnership that we are working with starting this year, somewhere in the last month, with USAID. So we have received funding from USAID to set up business centers across the various counties that we have. So we have selected counties, and we are going to create a one-stop shop for all the SMEs in that county, where they can be able to access advisory services, where they can be able to access training, capacity building, and that's what we are working on. And the last one is as he mentioned, we are working on putting up a family business center, and we are looking for funding for that. Yeah, somebody who can be able to fund us, so that we can set up a family business center that can be able to impact Kenya and across the region. So we have various areas of interventions, and we have also started having a model of working with the schools. We are currently working with the M-Pesa Foundation, which is a secondary level school sponsored by Safaricom, and they are looking at training those children such that by the time they are finishing Form 4, and getting into the universities, they have gone through entrepreneurship training, and they can be able to set up businesses. So some of them are opting actually not even to go to the universities. Some of them just want to start businesses. Others are starting and going to universities. We are also working with Al Jamia to Safia, which is an Arabic academy, and again also being able to come up with entrepreneurs at that early stage. So I think that's what I would say, unless there's any question that I can take, Dr. Gordon.
We'd like to go to Dr. Hala Barakat to give us a short overview of what the American University in Cairo's model is. So, Dr. Barakat, the floor is yours. I'm going to stop sharing, and if you are able, you can share.
I'll try to talk about our experiences and track record at the American University in Cairo School of Business with the entrepreneurship and the model that has been built throughout the past 10 years. So the entrepreneurship and innovation program started at the AUC School of Business 10 years ago, starting 2009, 2010. And still at that time, the entrepreneurship ecosystem at Egypt was very nascent. There was no much efforts done on the ground with the community. Everything was directed back then to small medium enterprises, but not entrepreneurship. So we started at the School of Business initiating an entrepreneurship and innovation program that began with raising awareness, providing workshops, trying to help rising entrepreneurs. And after 3 years, we launched the first university-based accelerator in Egypt, which is the Venture Lab, the AUC Venture Lab. And since that time, the V-Lab has an extensive efforts to promote the idea of acceleration and incubation within the Egyptian entrepreneurship ecosystem and community. Since the V-Lab was not meant to serve students, however, to serve rising entrepreneurs from Egypt. And it has been there since 2013. After a while, it has served lots of entrepreneurs who have been successful enough to get funding cycles from venture capital and angel investment. And then later on, we established a university-based angel investor network. It's called AUC Angels, to serve not only the entrepreneurs of the V-Lab Accelerator Incubator, but also to serve entrepreneurs from the community. We have also in 2015 the program became the center, which I'm currently directing. So the what was a program in 2010 became Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center at the AUC School of Business. The center mandate focuses more on undergraduate and graduate students. We focus more on outreaching to the community with different activities. So our target mainly in the center, we focus on activities that target youth and women entrepreneurs. So what we do is multi-layered actually. What we do is that we try to incorporate experiential learning activities into the already offered entrepreneurship courses in the management department. So in the management department, we have multiple of offered entrepreneurship courses that's offered not only to business students, but also available at the 200 levels to students from engineering and different backgrounds. We also have some core entrepreneurship courses which offered at a 100 level for all freshmen and sophomore students on entrepreneurship. So our role in the center is to incorporate experiential learning activities with students enrolled in these programs. We engage them. We have an Ideation program for students who are still at a very early stage of their ideas. We have an annual hackathon that we run, and we open it for international undergraduate students from all over the world. And every year, the hackathon has a different theme and a different impact. Usually, it's meant to solve rising crises and rising problems of the society that we all face all over the world. We also have an international case competition that we conduct yearly. The case competition is a really great tool for students to learn. We usually work early on. We have a specialized case center at the School of Business. We select a rising startup from Egypt or the region, and we start writing a professional case so that students can work on providing solutions to that startup. Actually, this is a great learning tool for entrepreneurship students to really engage with real life cases of entrepreneurs and startups. What we do also in the outreach to the community, we propose and we provide proposals to receive grants from international donors through intervention in the community. One of our latest grant was UN Women Global Affairs Canada funded program to train 1,000 females all over Egypt from different governorates on entrepreneurship to help them start their business, scale their business, have a steady income early on. But that's our outreach. We provide that training to women from different governorates at different levels of their startup journeys. We also try to support, we have a dedicated mentoring center that we have a dedicated professional mentoring technique that we open it for startup or rising entrepreneurs to come and to have a free of charge qualified mentoring sessions from our mentors. We'll try to help and support. Recently, the VLab, jointly with one of the ministries in Egypt, have been started a training to provide capacity building for other public universities to start having their own university-based incubation and accelerator as well. Because we also believe that doing things alone is not impactful and not sustainable unless the whole community and the whole universities and the whole ecosystem is complete. But we believe that it's always our role as one of the top private oldest institution higher education institution in Egypt. It is our role to give back the knowledge and expertise to whether private or public players in the entrepreneurship domain in Egypt. We do things that serve students. We do activities that serve the community. That's mainly the model. We are a bit separate from the academia. The academia falls under the management department, who set the plan and the courses, but we have various courses offered to, as I said, students from freshman levels to graduate levels. We have a track for entrepreneurship offered. We also, at the university, we have an innovation hub that recently started operations. So the idea of the innovation hub is that it brings corporates in to work directly with the students throughout the semester to try to work on find solutions, challenges, build up scaling strategies for said corporates and for startups and SMEs as well. We also recently have a co-op program with the startups. So students can have one semester of working with a startup against credit hours, where submissions required from them that falls into our academic criteria and guidelines. So that's mainly the model, and I'm happy if anyone have any questions. And we're open to any collaborations, ideas, new ideas of integrating activities and having new activities done with any of the institutions present in the cooperative. And recently we are members of the Babson Collaborative. We are members of the GPSN, and we have conducted actually a very good pilot program, Entrepreneur in Residence. We concluded a pilot program with Lancaster Management School through the Global Business School Network. We are always open to new programs and activities we can collaborate in for the benefit of the students and the community in large. Thank you, Dr. Gordon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barakat. That was wonderful. I don't know much about American University in Cairo, so this was great to get this. And Dr. Barakat, you heard from Ms. Eda Muni, who is part of the Strathmore Business School. Your models sound quite similar to what they do at Strathmore. I don't know if you got a sense of that.
Yes, I think I didn't catch the whole talk that she presented, but it's similar. It's the model is that because what made us, I think, from early on separate the academia, because entrepreneurship at the end of the day is very hard to stand alone as an students will not gain what's entrepreneurship feel and what it's about from only attending classes, whatever it is integrative, and they have to come with a business plan and pitches, unless it is coupled with some hands-on experience, some experiential experience, some activities that integrate them with the real world of an entrepreneur. That's the model. That's our model, is that the center, the VLab, every effort on campus that supports the hands-on experience of students to get a feel of what entrepreneurship is. And if entrepreneurship is a choice for them to pursue later on. On another note, we always engage work study students and the students from a different student organization on campus with us on our outreach program. For example, the UN Women program, we always have students working with us in the center. so that they gain idea, they attend the workshops, they work closely with the startups, they attend some of the mentoring sessions. So we would, that's our role of integrating the community with our life on campus.
And I like your last sentence there, which says integrating the community with a life on campus, because that's one thing that we wanted to tease out a bit more in this session, this idea that it's almost impossible to run an effective entrepreneurship program in the isolation of your campus, that you have to have a strong level of interaction with industry, working with companies, working with innovation hubs, entrepreneurship hubs, if you want to run a successful entrepreneurship program. So thank you so much for harping on that. All right, so my own recap again of how we structured the track. Just a quick recap is that from our research and our understanding of how entrepreneurship education works, we looked at three areas. One, what is the institution doing in the classroom? Two, what extracurricular programs does the institution have? And three, what are the interdependencies that the institution is exploring in its ecosystem? So for instance, at Ashesi University, we are a little bit removed from Accra. So it's a lot difficult for us to, please don't open the breakout rooms are open, but just before we go to the breakout rooms, it's a lot difficult for us to interact with industry. We have to be a lot more intentional, because if you have been to Ashesi, you will realize that the road network is terrible. So it's not that easy for us versus maybe another university that is in an inner city. So we don't have very strong industry engagements on a weekly basis, for instance. We do have, for our programs. And you can see from, let's say, the Strathmore and also the American University of Cairo. In Cairo, you see that there is a very, very strong interaction with industry. And we think that that is a really good approach as well. So we are hoping that if, let's say, you're looking at curricular or extracurricular programming, or you're looking at strong interdependencies, that with your ecosystem, that you can pick some ideas from here to discuss in your breakout rooms. So we're going to go to the breakout rooms. All right. Well, welcome back. As they say, when the conversation gets interesting, that's when you have to leave. I'm sure you were able to get a good sense of who the people in your breakout room are, what they're working on, and you can exchange contact. If you were not able to do that, you can private message them with your contact information right here in the chat. So we're going to go around very quickly around the rooms. You have less than 1 minute. Just give us a sense of what the conversation was like and which areas, what kinds of concepts people are thinking about applying for. So less than 1 minute. Let's start with room 1.
So I said I liked the idea from Ashesi University of offering grants to entrepreneurs who I assume in the idea stage of their startup to go out, test and validate. I think that is a very missing component in the entrepreneurial ecosystem across Africa. Everyone wants to come and invest when things are successful, but we need to offer a safety net for people to experiment and fail and or succeed. Right? Mwakio liked and is thinking about implementing Dr. Njenga's approach from Strathmore University to who are focused on specific areas in entrepreneurship. So he spoke about health and entrepreneurship. So they have full programs, courses that are just focused on that. And at Mwakio's school, university, they have mining and I can't remember what else. How can we infuse entrepreneurship in these specific sectors, right? So we always talk about agribusiness, we always talk about health. What about all the other places? How can we bring entrepreneurship or an entrepreneurial approach in the courses that we teach, or help our students see that the career, entrepreneurship can also be a career path in what they are studying. Mwakio, is there anything I may have left out?
No, you are on point. You are on point.
Right. In the interest of time. Right. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to the next group.
I think most people are expressing that it's very refreshing to see the cross-country collaboration of African universities. And we have a school that wanted to start an incubator. And so if they were to apply for the grants, that will be what they will invest the money into, an incubator for the students. And we had a school that was interested in something, what Hala was doing back in Egypt, on women and entrepreneurship, and so they would like to emulate that in their school. I think that's pretty much most of the stuff that came out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janet. All right, let's go to group 3.
Yes, thank you. The conversations were centered around some concept on some global internship program for student entrepreneurs. The lady shared that they do have a platform that can actually link students with global companies for internship and exposure, so that they can actually be mentored by those who are already in practice prior to them actually leaving school and deciding which path they want to take, whether employment or entrepreneurship. And then there was also a concept of eco-entrepreneurship, where we are thinking of infusing green models into the whole entrepreneurship development programming.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's actually very interesting. Very interesting. All right, group 4.
I think I am in a group with actually Mawasa, and I think we were trying to lock heads with how best we can collaborate, because he happens to come from the Francophone country. So he suggested, if possibly, a way out, because from his upbringing and for what he knows, the Francophone countries, based on how they were colonized, they are not so much abreast with and much into entrepreneurship. Their kind of businesses have not been able to let them to be entrepreneurship conscious. So I thought it wise that then there should be something that we should have in common. Because I'm a Ghanaian, David, I'm a Ghanaian, and precisely from the West African region. So if that's the case, then I think that we should look something in common, because if we're looking at international trade, then the lingua franca should be something that we should also concentrate in terms of.
So David, you have less than 1 minute, so if you can cut it to the key concept for me, I apologize.
That's okay. So I think what we were just looking at it is about how we can get a project. But this project, we are going to look at how best we can use language to break the barriers of both international countries, especially using the French and the English Francophone countries, and how best we can be able to get that synergy in order to have a good entrepreneurship in terms of bilateral trade. So I think that
sounds brilliant. That sounds brilliant. It's something we haven't talked about at all, and we didn't even include in our conceptualization. So thank you so much for going there.
Thank you.
Good idea. Wonderful. Group 5, let's do it.
And first of all, we discussed quite of similar approaches that are already currently available at our universities. So these are kind of accelerator programs that already start to be available for the students during their studies, but also have a very open door to all of those that want to further develop their first pilots and their young startups in after graduation. So offers kind of a small ecosystem with support staff and every kind of niche you need as a startup entrepreneur. And I think for the future, at least for myself, I would like to definitely implement kind of the community work that has been shared by Dr. Nanjega, because I think this is the perfect opportunity to combine both first entrepreneurial activities from students and like have a real proper impact to the local community in closeness to the universities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. I think we made it. It's been great as we start. What we started with is that we wanted to see how universities on the continent were teaching entrepreneurship in the classroom, what programs they had outside of the classroom, and how they were interacting with their communities and delivering these programs. And I think based on what we're hearing from the breakout rooms, some ideas are popping. Some are saying, we're doing all of these things, and if that's the case, then there's a good validation of the work that you're doing. But obviously, if you're picking up something new, then definitely that's great as well. So I'm very excited about it. I'm going to quickly invite my two co-facilitators to make very short comments, and then we're going to go to Miss Rose Dodd from the Education Collaborative to also briefly tell us about the small grants program, and then it will be a wrap. So let's go to Rose. Rose, if you can close it up for us.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. And thank you so much, everyone, for the contributions. I guess, as Gordon said, what I'm going to add is just briefly about the small grants we are, small grants opportunity we are given to participants coming out of the session. The goal for it really is to, encourage that first step. Once you identify a gap in your institution's internal entrepreneurship ecosystem, and based on all the models that have been shared here, maybe there's one section of that model you would like to try out in your own institution, you can apply to get access to some of the funds from the grant to implement that in your institution. So this would be shared, more of this will be shared tomorrow during the Commitment Summit. We will share the process for accessing these funds, also, how to complete the forms, and also how to maybe even begin thinking about partnerships and collaborations with other people in this session to access those funds. So we'll share more of that tomorrow as well. Gordon?
All right. Thank you so much. So without much ado, we'll say thank you very much for joining us today.